Hi, my name is Dr. Felucia, and I'm a licensed psychologist. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a common question that people who have been abused ask themselves. And that is, should I feel sorry for my abuser? Do I need to feel sympathy for them as part of my healing? And so it's a common question. I understand why people ask this question, and this applies to all kinds of abuse. I talk a lot about spiritual abuse on my channel, but it's not just spiritual abuse. It could be psychological abuse, narcissistic abuse, any type of, manipulation, or just any type of abuse that anybody goes through. Do I need to feel sorry for this person? And the question is a complicated question, but I'm going to answer it the best way that I can. I don't believe and I don't advocate forcing sympathy on somebody else. And, I have a lot of videos on this, on the hurt people myth. And unfortunately, when someone who is abused has heard that, they may feel manipulated, coerced, or guilted, or just shamed into feeling sorry for somebody who was abusive, right? And sometimes even abusive people use this themselves. People who enable abuse use this phrase sometimes as a way to make that person who was abused feel sorry for the person who abused them. And so a few things can happen, right? On one hand, somebody may actually have genuine sympathy for the person that did abuse them, right? They can feel sorry for them, they can feel sympathy. And when that happens, the person who is abused can feel also some shame about that. So they might say to themselves, well, what this person did was horrible. So why on earth am I like stuck in this place of feeling sorry for them, feeling sympathy for them, just feeling bad for what they went through, right? And that can happen, when maybe they learned something about something that happened to that person in the past, or just feeling sorry for them in general, right? So that can happen. On the other side of that, sometimes people don't feel sympathy for the abuser, right? They don't feel sorry for them. And when that happens, then they can kind of like look at themselves and question who they are, question the type of person that they are, because they don't feel that sympathy that maybe everybody is telling them to feel, or that they are expected to feel all the time. So this is a common, it's a common issue. And when people are also in this space of like trying to force sympathy for someone, right, that abused them, it can also come from a space of like not wanting to make a big deal out of what happened, right? And so if they tell themselves, well, this person, had a horrible childhood, or they were abused themselves, then it kind of makes the person on the receiving end of the abuse say, okay, well, I don't have to make that big of a deal of it then, right? And it's and they're basically minimizing what happened to them, right? Or they feel like they have to search for something that happened to the abuser so that they can just kind of like understand why they were abused. And so I really want to emphasize that this is not, it's not your job to figure out why the person who abused you or the system that abused you did what they did. There are multiple causes for lots of things in life. And people, for whatever reason, which, not whatever reasons, which I'm not going to go into in this video, can, choose to abuse other people. Right. And so I think it's really important that when you are struggling with, well, should I feel this or should I feel that? I want you to rephrase this, and I want you to think about it a different way. And that is just allow what comes up to come up, right? So if you are feeling sympathy for the abusive person, then go ahead and let yourself feel that sympathy or feel sorry for them, right? And don't shame yourself for doing so. The same token, if you are finding to yourself that you're not feeling sympathy for them, you're feeling angry with them, you're feeling indifferent, then acknowledge that and process what that means for you. I encourage a lot on this channel that people journal, and I think journaling is a good way to process and work out those feelings. But I would say that regardless of whether you feel sympathy or not, it is important to always value your boundaries and value and prioritize your healing. And I talk about this on, other videos as well, but like everybody has their own stuff to work through. And you are responsible for working through that, just like the person who was abusive to you or the system that was abusive to you. They are responsible for working out what happened to them, right? And getting healing for that and starting and progressing on their own healing journey. Another thing I want to emphasize is that it's very important too, that when you are feeling sympathy, or if you feel sympathy or you feel sorry for them, whatever you feel, it's also important to make sure that you are prioritizing boundaries and keeping healthy boundaries intact. I find that sometimes when people have been abused, they're in such a rush to reconcile that they don't have healthy boundaries and they don't look for changed behavior. And you can forgive somebody, you can move on, in your mind or your heart from what happened, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reconcile with that person. It's really important to remember. You want to prioritize changed behavior. And you also want to be in that space of requiring that person not only to earn your trust back, but to maintain that trust. It's not a one-time thing. And I also want to emphasize too, that in your recovery journey, you're going to feel a lot of different things, right? Sometimes you may feel sympathy. Sometimes you might feel anger. Sometimes you might feel joy that you're progressing. There are going to be lots of feelings that come up. Some of the feelings are going to come up together. Some of them are going to wax and wane throughout your recovery process. And so what I advocate for and what I recommend is allowing whatever feelings to come up and analyze them and observe them, but don't try to force one thing or the other, right? Because sometimes when you're in that space of trying to force something, it could be a way of coping. It could turn into a way of coping rather that's not healthy. So going back to what I said before, if you're in a space of trying to make yourself, feel sorry for somebody who was abusive to you, and you're doing that as a way to kind of like distract yourself from what happened, or to like minimize what happened and convince yourself that this wasn't that big a deal, that's not healthy. Rather what is healthy is realizing, well, am I coping with this in a healthy way? And just realizing that, again, like I've said before, there are going to be different feelings that come up. And the most important thing is to realize where your responsibility starts, where your responsibility ends, and making sure that within that space, you're taking responsibility for your own recovery and doing that in a healthy and realistic way. Okay, so I really hope this information has helped you. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you think would benefit from it. That also helps YouTube send out videos like mine to other people that could be that would benefit from it. And then also, if you would like to book a free consultation with me, go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, click on the consultation button, and there's also a link in the description box. Okay, I hope you are having a wonderful and peaceful day. Bye-bye.